What is it like to read Jinx? It's like moving forward 5 steps and then taking back 10 again. And then again, moving forward 3 and moving back 1. So it requires nerves of steel. But that's what makes this story interesting, so that one wants to crave for more, at least for me. I saw a lot of reactions of frustration on the development of Jinx so far. Tell me your opinion. Is having Jinx, or more precisely Jaekyung, having a slight development, or is there none at all? I am curious to know. He's still not even considering feelings, but rather not feel awful again. Have you noticed he's always like, I or me? Especially when he's saying, but I feel like I won't be satisfied unless he's in my line of sight, even in his sorry state. What about Kim Dan? Why not consider what he wants? Did we already enter the obsessive Jaekyung era? Almost seems as if what exactly is striking, that we still haven't seen anything from his past yet. He still doesn't recognize his feelings. Because he willingly doesn't want to, or does he really doesn't understand it? He's impulsive and reacts to what he's feeling at that moment rather than what he experienced so far. Is it a coping mechanism, or is he doing it on purpose? He's so focused on how he alone is feeling that it's quite striking in my opinion. Apart from that, I'd actually argue that there is indeed development going on, though it's really subtle and frustrating most of the times. That's exactly what Mingwa told us in the creator's note, if I'm not mistaken. I think that the plot is rooted into something more deeper that wasn't revealed yet and that we will learn about in the near future. To me, it's as if we only scratch the surface of the iceberg, but move on slowly, but surely to see what else is there to uncover. As for Kim Dan, with each upcoming chapter, you can hear my heart shatter a little more. This poor man is so done, and I think one could describe that he's working on power-saving mode or even survival mode. I mean, he was mixing medication with alcohol, though the doctor emphasized to not do that. He's so disconnected from feeling any kind of feelings and just do what Jaekyung always asked him to do in previous chapters, and most of the times. This was to function for Jaekyung and his needs. Sadly. And that, even after Jaekyung destroyed any small spark of joy and affection he felt for Jaekyung. Therefore, he took and interpreted it as if Jaekyung wanted to do it again with Kim Dan, still having an addiction, and according to his mental state, it led him to drinking again, thinking that's the only way he could fall asleep again. To me, Jaekyung seemed as a small child defending himself that he definitely didn't start what they were doing. Though, he still completely lost control. But let's not dig into that because I'll lose it again, LOL. So Jaekyung was, in his strange way, tried to look after Kim Dan with taking care of him afterwards, even being kind of forced to have a bath with him. Have you noticed that only his thoughts about losing Kim Dan again made him mad, LOL? Even the next day, when ordering food, he's still convinced he's doing that for his own good. That Kim Dan is going to be okay again. What I'm wondering throughout the chapters, is Jaekyung lowering the sum of Kim Dan's debt? Is he even being serious about Kim Dan wanting to pay it back? It's so weird. Apart from that, it annoyed me so much that Jaekyung was deciding for Kim Dan that he had no reason to run away from there, which would also include going back to his grandma. I mean, who is he to decide? Also, if I'm not mistaken, it's not really common for younger peers to address older ones by their full name, rather than Hyung or Sunbae, as it's related due to respect. It doesn't sit right with me that Jaekyung is younger than Kim Dan and still calling him by his full name than using honorifics. I can't wait for that moment when Jaekyung is hopefully calling Kim Dan with correct honorifics. Trust me, you'll hear me screaming on every continent on this planet when it's going to happen, LOL. So let's address the predictions from the last thoughts, theories, and predictions on chapter 68 video. I've still got the feeling that something major will happen that will have a huge impact on the whole plot and development. Am I the only one? I really can't be the only one. Let me know in the comments if you agree. So the first possibility was about the chapter continue where it ended. Both of them in bed, and that Kim Dan was not feeling good and would even pass out again. Also that Jaekyung would start to reflect what they're even doing and stay awake and have realizations. Well, actually, it was indeed like that. though they ended up having a bath after Kim Dan passed out and Jaekyung lost control. He's still reflecting on their current situation and came to the conclusion that Kim Dan needs to be close to him. The second possibility was about them continue doing it, while Kim Dan will pass out, but Jaekyung continue what he was doing, without stopping though. It was also about Jaekyung doing aftercare for Kim Dan and start reflect on what just happened. Apart from that, it was about Jaekyung being a touch softer with Kim Dan than he was before. That one is tough because actually it did occur like that, though Jaekyung wasn't that soft with Kim Dan. When they were doing it, though he was kissing Kim Dan, but rather lost control. He was softer while doing aftercare though. The third possibility was about the feeling that something bad is going to happen, likely that his grandma could pass away. Luckily it didn't happen, but as I already stated, I still think this is likely to happen and trust me. I'm not going to shut up about this. Lol, the possibility was also about their night and morning together. What did actually occur? So what could possibly happen in the next upcoming chapter 69? Let's dive into it. So, as I already stated at least 100 times, I still think that in the upcoming chapters we'll get a major shift in plot. So with that in mind, let's head to 3 possible scenarios. The first possibility that I think is likely to happen is that Kim Dan wants to return to the small village and perhaps to his grandma. He refuses to go back to Jaekyung's home, but still doesn't have any personal belongings or even money with him, which is bothering him as we learned. In the recent chapters, he even insisted on adding the hotel room fee to his debt. And let's not forget that he's having a job there. Though he wasn't too lucky with that recently, let's not forget that when he was close to drowning himself, Jaekyung took him there in chapter 60. The second possibility might also be about how they're going to spend their day after they've left the hotel room. Will they return to the village? Or will they even go back to the Team Black gym since we got teased in chapter 67 that Jaekyung and Coach are trying to figure something out with the MFC? I think that he will just drag Kim Dan with him, perhaps even refusing to return to the village and rather buy him new clothes and other necessities. I'm not sure whether we will see where they'll end up for the night, though I'm quite curious. Thirdly, I think it's gotten too quiet around the loan sharks, Baek Joo-min, or the director of the King of MMA gym. In general, I think it's gotten to quite around drama. All we got so far was about Jaekyung going crazy with not finding Kim Dan and Kim Dan's state that seems to be getting worse. What if drama appears again? What if Grandma's health is involved? Please don't judge me for listing her again. But what are your thoughts, theories, and predictions for the upcoming Jinx chapter 69? Let me know in the comments. Each update is exciting, and I am really curious where this journey will bring us.